The Nexus 7 trading station floated like a metallic jewel against the backdrop of twin purple suns. Captain Marcus Stone pressed his face against the transport window, watching the massive structure grow larger as their shuttle approached. After 3 months of deep space travel, he was ready for solid ground beneath his feet, even if it was artificial gravity on an alien space station.
Oh.
Marcus straightened his diplomatic uniform and checked his datapad one final time. Youngest trade envoy, he carried the hopes of his entire species. The mineral resources of the Andorian sector could solve humanity's energy crisis for generations. But first he had to convince a dozen alien civilizations that humans deserved a seat at the negotiating table. The docking bay hummed with activity. As beings from across the galaxy conducted their daily business, Marcus had studied alien anatomy for months, but seeing them in person was overwhelming. Tentacled creatures floated in hovering tanks while insectoid beings clicked and buzzed in their native tongues. The air recyclers worked overtime to accommodate the various atmospheric needs of so many species. After settling into his assigned quarters, Marcus made his way to the station's main cantina. The neutral zone was designed for informal meetings between different species, with adjustable lighting and atmosphere controls to make everyone comfortable. Most delegates would be resting before tomorrow's formal negotiations, but Marcus needed to clear his head. The cantina was surprisingly quiet, with only a few patrons scattered at tables designed for various body types. Marcus ordered something, called Zaraki Nectar from the multi-armed bartender, and found a spot near the large observation window. The sweet, fizzy drink reminded him of Earth's ginger ale, though with an unusual warmth that spread through his chest. She entered the cantina like a graceful dancer, her movements fluid despite her impressive height. Marcus found himself staring as she approached the bar. Her skin was a striking shade of deep blue, decorated with intricate silver patterns that seemed to shift and shimmer in the ambient light. Long white hair cascaded down her back in elegant waves, and when she turned to scan the room, he caught sight of large, luminous amber eyes. Their gazes met across the mostly empty space. Was clearly Quilani, one of the most advanced species in this sector of the galaxy. Marcus had read about their technological superiority and cultural sophistication, but no report had mentioned how captivating they could be. To his surprise, she walked directly to his table. Her height became even more apparent as she approached. Easily 8 feet tall, with an athletic build that spoke of both strength and elegance. "May I join you?" Her voice had a musical quality, like wind chimes in a gentle breeze. "I noticed you're drinking alone, and my people consider solitary consumption to be poor manners." Marcus gestured to the empty chair across from him, though he wondered if the furniture would accommodate her frame. "Please, be my guest. I'm Marcus Stone, representing Earth in tomorrow's negotiations." "Zelina Vorth," she replied, settling gracefully into the reinforced seating. "Cultural liaison. For the Quilani Collective, I've been eager to meet humanity's representative. Your species has quite the reputation." "Good or bad?" Marcus asked, raising an eyebrow. Zelina smiled, revealing teeth that were perfectly white and just slightly pointed. "Fascinating. Your people accomplish remarkable things in very short lifespans. Most galactic civilizations require centuries to achieve what humans do in decades." The multi-armed bartender approached with a tall glass of pale blue liquid. Placing it before Zelina with practiced efficiency, she took a delicate sip and sighed contentedly. "What is that?" Marcus asked, curious about the glowing beverage. "Lumina milk," she explained. "It's produced by our domesticated Vorthok creatures, very nutritious, and helps regulate our body temperature. All Quilani consume it regularly." She paused, studying him with those remarkable amber eyes. "I assume human males also produce nutritional secretions for their offspring." Marcus nearly choked on his drink. "Excuse me?" Zelina leaned forward with genuine scientific curiosity. "Our xenobiology reports indicate that most mammalian species, regardless of gender, possess some capacity for nutritional production. Surely, human males contribute to feeding their young." "That's not how humans work," Marcus managed, feeling heat rise in his cheeks. "Only our females produce milk, and only after giving birth." Her expression shifted to one of profound confusion. But you must have some biological mechanism for nourishment production. Perhaps it requires stimulation to activate. Without warning, her hand moved toward his lap. Marcus jerked backward so quickly he nearly toppled his chair. Whoa, that's not ... that's definitely not milk. Zelina froze, her hand still extended, amber eyes wide with embarrassment. Her blue skin darkened to a deeper shade, which Marcus realized must be her species' equivalent of blushing. Oh no, I've committed a terrible cultural violation, haven't I? Despite his shock, Marcus found himself laughing. The situation was too absurd to be truly offensive. Let's just say that particular part of human anatomy serves a different purpose entirely. Reproductive rather than nutritional, Zelina said, nodding as if taking mental notes. I should have consulted the cultural protocols more carefully. Please forgive my forwardness. In Quilani society, direct biological inquiry is considered the highest form of scientific respect. On Earth, we generally prefer to get to know someone before discussing intimate anatomy. Marcus replied, his embarrassment fading into amusement. Though I suppose we all have different ways of showing interest. Zelina's eyes lit up with understanding. So there is a courtship protocol for such examinations. How fascinating your species continues to surprise me. As the conversation continued, Marcus found himself genuinely enjoying Zelina's company. Her curiosity about human culture was refreshing after months of studying dry diplomatic reports. About alien species, she asked thoughtful questions about Earth's history, technology, and social structures. While sharing equally intriguing details about Quilani civilization, hours passed without notice as they exchanged stories about their respective worlds. Marcus learned that Quilani lived for several centuries and valued careful deliberation over quick action.
Alina
Discovered that humans often made important decisions based on intuition and emotion rather than pure logic. Despite their vast differences, they found common ground in their love of exploration and learning. I should return to my quarters, Zelina finally said as the cantina began to empty completely. Tomorrow's negotiations will require all of my diplomatic skills. Marcus stood with her, surprised by his reluctance to end their conversation. Perhaps we could continue this cultural exchange after the formal sessions conclude. Zelina's smile was radiant. I would enjoy that very much, Marcus Stone. You humans are far more intriguing than our preliminary report suggested. Glided away with that same graceful movement that had first caught his attention. Marcus realized that the Andorian sector negotiations had just become far more complicated. He was supposed to be building trade relationships with alien civilizations, not developing personal feelings for their representatives. But as he watched Zelina disappear into the corridor, he couldn't shake the feeling that this chance encounter might change everything for both their species. The Grand Assembly Hall buzzed with tension as representatives from 12 different species took their positions around the massive circular table. Marcus adjusted his formal diplomatic jacket and reviewed his notes one final time. Earth's mining. Proposal for the Andorian sector was critical for humanity's survival, but he could already sense the opposition building against him. Zelina sat with the Quilani delegation across the chamber, her white hair now braided with glowing ceremonial crystals. She looked every inch the sophisticated diplomat, but when their eyes met briefly, Marcus caught a hint of the warmth they had shared the night before. Ambassador Drex Korthok, the imposing male Quilani military leader, stood to address the assembly. His dark blue skin bore the ritual scars of a warrior caste, and his amber eyes held nothing but contempt as he looked toward Marcus. Fellow council members, Drex began, his voice carrying the authority of centuries. We gathered to discuss the humans' request for mining rights in Andorian space. However, I question whether this young species deserves such privileges. Marcus felt every alien gaze turned toward him. He stood slowly, drawing on every lesson from diplomatic training. Ambassador Korthok raises fair concerns. Humanity is indeed young by galactic standards. But we've proven our dedication to peaceful cooperation and resource sharing in every agreement we've signed. Peaceful. Drex's laugh was harsh. Tell that to the Vectari Raiders, your species annihilated in the Outer Rim conflicts. Your people show disturbing capacity for violence when threatened. We defended ourselves against unprovoked attacks, Marcus replied evenly. Just as any species here would protect their colonies and civilians. The chamber erupted in clicking, buzzing, and various alien sounds of discussion. Marcus noticed several delegates nodding in agreement, but others seemed swayed by Drex's words. To his surprise, Zelina rose gracefully from her seat. "If I may address the council," she said, her melodic voice cutting through the chaos. "As cultural liaison, I've studied human behavior extensively. Their defensive actions were proportionate responses to existential threats. We cannot condemn a species for protecting their young." Drex's expression darkened as he stared at his colleague. The cultural liaison exceeds her authority. "This is a matter of resource allocation, not anthropological study. Culture and resource sharing are inseparable," Zelina countered smoothly. "Understanding a species' motivations is essential for successful cooperation." Humans demonstrate remarkable adaptability and innovation under pressure. Marcus watched the interplay between the two Quilani with growing concern. It was clear that Zelina was taking a significant risk by defending humanity, and Drex's anger was becoming more apparent with each exchange. The debate continued for hours, with various species raising concerns about human expansion and potential military capabilities. Marcus answered each question as honestly as possible, but he could sense the tide turning against Earth's proposal. During a brief recess, he found himself alone in a side corridor with Zelina. Her usual composure showed cracks of worry. "You didn't have to defend us," Marcus said quietly. "I can handle Drex's accusations." "He's not just making accusations," Zelina replied, glancing around to ensure they weren't overheard. "There are elements within the Quilani military who view human expansion as a threat to galactic stability. They're building a coalition." Marcus felt his blood run cold. What kind of coalition? The kind that believes preemptive action is better than waiting for humans to become too powerful. Her amber eyes met his with genuine fear. "Marcus, there are those among my people who would rather eliminate the human threat now while they still can." The implications hit him like a physical blow. "You're talking about an attack on Earth, or your colonies. Somewhere that would cripple human expansion without triggering a full-scale war." Zelina stepped closer, her tall frame allowing her to speak directly into his ear. "I shouldn't be telling you this, but I believe cooperation between our species could benefit everyone. Violence will only breed more violence." "Why are you helping me?" Marcus asked, though he suspected he already knew the answer. Zelina's skin showed that familiar, deeper blue of embarrassment. "Perhaps because I find myself drawn to human passion and determination. Your species feels everything so intensely. It's unlike anything in Quilani culture." Before Marcus could respond, footsteps echoed in the corridor. They stepped apart quickly as Drex appeared, his scarred features twisted with suspicion. "Zelina," he said coldly, "you're needed for strategy. Discussions, immediately." As she was led away, Zelina managed one last glance at Marcus. In that look, he saw both warning and promise. Whatever was coming, they would face it together. The formal session resumed with even greater tension than before. Marcus presented Earth's proposal with new urgency, knowing that far more than mining rights hung in the balance. As he spoke about humanity's potential contributions to galactic civilization, he wondered if he was fighting for his species' future or merely delaying their destruction. The station's observation deck was deserted at this late hour, offering a spectacular view of the twin purple suns setting behind the gas giant's rings. Marcus had been waiting for 20 minutes when Zelina finally appeared, moving with unusual stealth despite her impressive height. "I'm taking a tremendous risk meeting you here," she said, without preamble, her amber eyes scanning the empty space around them. "Drex has assigned watchers to monitor my activities." "Then why come?" Marcus asked, though his heart already knew the answer. "Gas. What I learned tonight changes everything." Zelina moved closer to the reinforced viewing window, her reflection ghost-like in the transparent aluminum. "The coalition Drex is building isn't just about territorial disputes. They have intelligence suggesting humans are developing weapons technology that could threaten every species in this sector." Marcus felt the familiar surge of human defensiveness, but forced himself to remain calm. What kind of weapons? Quantum. Disruption devices, apparently. Technology that could destabilize entire solar systems. Zelina turned to face him, her expression grave. Is it true? I honestly don't know, Marcus admitted. Earth's military research is classified above my level. But even if we are developing new defensive systems, it would only be in response to threats like the Vectari raids. That's exactly what Drex expected you to say. Zelina's voice carried both frustration and understanding. He believes humans are inherently deceptive, using claims of self-defense to justify aggressive expansion. Marcus moved closer to her, drawn by the genuine concern in her voice. And what do you believe? I believe that every species has the right to defend itself, she replied softly. I also believe that fear makes people do terrible things, regardless of their species. The silence stretched between them, filled with unspoken possibilities. Marcus found himself studying the intricate silver patterns on her blue skin, noting how they seemed to pulse gently with her heartbeat. There's something else, Zelina continued, her voice barely above a whisper. Drex has obtained detailed intelligence about human colony locations. He's planning to present this information to the Coalition as proof that humanity is spreading too quickly across claimed territories. Those colonies are in unclaimed space, Marcus protested. We've been careful to avoid established territorial boundaries, space that other species consider their traditional hunting grounds or expansion routes, Zelina explained. Legal unclaimed, but culturally significant to multiple civilizations. Marcus ran his hands through his hair, feeling the weight of diplomatic failure pressing down on him. So we're damned either way. It's too aggressive if we expand, too vulnerable. If we don't, Les Zelina said carefully, someone could provide evidence that the Coalition's fears are unfounded. Someone like you. Marcus met her gaze directly. Zelina, if you're caught helping us, what would happen? Her skin darkened with that telltale blush, but her voice remained steady. Exile at best, execution for treason at worst. But Marcus, I've seen what fear-driven decisions do to civilizations. My people survived the Great Purges 3 centuries ago because a few individuals chose cooperation over conflict. The courage in her words took his breath away. Here was someone willing to sacrifice everything for the possibility of peace between their species. What do you need from me? He asked. Access to your colony defense reports. Proof that human settlements are purely civilian with minimal military presence. Something to counter Drex's claims about aggressive expansion. Marcus knew he was stepping far beyond his authority as a trade envoy. Sharing military intelligence with an alien representative, even a friendly one, could end his career and possibly land him in prison. But looking into Zelina's earnest amber eyes, he realized that some risks were worth taking. I'll need to contact Earth, he said finally. See what information I can share without compromising security. Zelina's relief was visible in the way. Her tense shoulders relaxed. Thank you, Marcus. I know this puts you in an impossible position. We're both in impossible positions, he replied, surprising himself by reaching out to touch her hand. Her skin was cool but surprisingly soft, and he felt that familiar jolt of connection that transcended species barriers. In Quilani culture, Zelina said quietly, not pulling away from his touch, physical contact between unbonded individuals is considered a declaration of serious intent.
Ah.
And what does that mean exactly? Marcus asked, his pulse quickening. 8. Means that by accepting my touch, you're signaling readiness to form a deep emotional and physical bond. Her amber eyes searched his face. Are you prepared for such a commitment, Marcus Stone? Looking at this remarkable being who was risking everything to prevent a war, Marcus realized he had never been more certain of anything in his life. Think I've been ready since the moment you walked into that cantina. Their kiss was electric, bridging not just the physical space between them, but the vast cultural gulf that separated their species. For a moment, the political crisis faded away, leaving only two beings finding connection in the endless darkness of space. The emergency alarm shrieked through Marcus's quarters at 0400 station time, jolting him from restless sleep. His communicator buzzed with an urgent message from Earth, command that made his blood run cold. Colony Tau 7, under attack. Casualties mounting. Respond immediately. Marcus threw on his uniform and rushed to the communications center, his mind racing with possibilities. As he passed through the station corridors, he noticed unusual activity among the alien delegations. Groups of species representatives huddled in urgent conversation, their various forms of body language suggesting high agitation. The communication center was chaos. Multiple species were receiving reports of attacks on their outlying settlements, all apparently coordinated strikes happening simultaneously across the sector. Marcus managed to establish a connection with Earth Command just as Zelina appeared. Beside him, her usual elegant composure replaced by obvious distress. "Marcus," she said urgently, "the Quilani homeworld's outer defenses have been breached. 3 of our agricultural stations are gone." "Tau 7 is reporting the same," Marcus replied grimly, listening to the crackling transmission from the human colony. "Whoever is doing this is hitting multiple species at once." Admiral Rodriguez's weathered face appeared on Marcus's screen, strain evident in every line. "Stone, we need you back on Earth immediately. The attack patterns suggest someone with detailed intelligence about our colony layouts." "Sir, the other species are reporting similar breaches," Marcus said. "This isn't just an attack on humanity." "That's what worries me most," Rodriguez replied. "Get back here now." "That's an order." As the transmission ended, Marcus felt Zelina's cool hand on his shoulder. "I've been recalled as well," she said softly. "Drex is claiming this proves human expansion has destabilized the entire sector." "That's insane," Marcus protested. "We're being attacked too." "Logic doesn't matter when fear takes control," Zelina replied. "My people are already mobilizing defensive fleets. If other species do the same, galactic war," Marcus finished the thought. The very thing they had been trying to prevent was now inevitable unless they could identify the real enemy. Ambassador Drex's voice boomed across the station's communication system, calling all delegates to an emergency session. As Marcus and Zelina made their way to the assembly hall, she leaned close to speak privately. "Before we go in there," she whispered urgently, "there's something you need to know. I managed to access the tactical data about these attacks." "How?" Marcus asked, though he suspected the answer would complicate things further. "I may have borrowed some classified files from Drex's personal database," she admitted, her skin showing that familiar darker blue. "Marcus, the attack patterns are too sophisticated for random raiders. Someone has been studying all our defensive systems for months." Marcus stopped walking. "You stole military secrets? Saved both our peoples?" Zelina said firmly. "And what I found is terrifying. The attackers have detailed intelligence about human colonies, Quilani outposts, and at least 6 other species settlements. The only way they could have obtained this information is through infiltration at the highest diplomatic levels." The implications hit Marcus like a physical blow. Someone in the trade negotiations has been feeding intelligence to hostile forces. Or the negotiations themselves were a cover for intelligence gathering, Zelina suggested. "Think about it. Every species brought detailed colony reports, defensive assessments, and territorial surveys." As they entered the assembly hall, Marcus's mind raced through the possibilities. Who had access to information from multiple species? Who would benefit from a galactic war that devastated several civilizations at once? Drex stood at the center of the chamber, his scarred features twisted with righteous anger. "Fellow representatives," he declared, "today's attacks prove that human expansion has attracted dangerous attention to our peaceful sectors. I move for immediate sanctions against Earth and all human colonies." "The attacks weren't limited to humans," Marcus countered, stepping forward. "Quilani stations were hit as well. This is clearly the work of a third party." "Convenient timing for such an assertion," sneered a crystalline being from the Zephyrian delegation. "Perhaps humans orchestrated these attacks to cover their own aggressive expansion." The accusation sparked heated debate among the various species, with several delegates supporting sanctions against humanity. Marcus watched in growing horror as the alliance Zelina had warned him about began to solidify around shared fear and suspicion. Then Zelina stood, her impressive height commanding attention from the entire assembly. "Before we make accusations based on fear," she said clearly, Perhaps we should examine the evidence objectively. The cultural liaison exceeds her authority again, Drex warned, but Zelina continued. I have obtained intelligence data about today's attacks, she announced, producing a data crystal that gleamed in the chamber's lighting. The tactical pattern suggests coordination from a species not represented in these negotiations. Amber eyes widened with shock and fury. That intelligence is classified. Dude. The question, Zelina interrupted, is why our military intelligence was so easily accessible to outside forces, unless of course it was deliberately provided to them. The chamber fell silent as the implications sank in. Marcus watched Drex's expression shift from anger to something that looked very much like panic. You're suggesting treason without proof, Drex said, but his voice lacked its earlier confidence. I'm suggesting we examine all possibilities before starting a war, Zelina replied, including the possibility that someone has been using these negotiations to gather intelligence for hostile forces. As security officers moved toward the Quilani delegation, Marcus realized that Zelina had just sacrificed her career and possibly her life to reveal the truth. But in doing so, she might have saved both their species from mutual destruction. The revelation of the intelligence breach transformed the emergency session from accusations into investigation. Within hours, forensic analysis of the stolen data revealed traces of Catherian encryption codes, identifying the true enemy behind the coordinated attacks. The Catherians were an aggressive hive-mind species from the Outer Rim, known for their expansionist policies and systematic elimination of competing civilizations. They had been manipulating the trade negotiations from the beginning, using the gathering of intelligence to plan simultaneous strikes against multiple species. Marcus stood in the strategic command center that had been hastily established aboard the station, watching his former adversaries work together to coordinate their response. Zelina worked alongside Quilani and human officers, her cultural expertise proving invaluable in facilitating communication between different species. The Catherian fleet is moving toward the inner systems, reported Commander Jenna Rivers, Marcus's colleague who had arrived with the emergency Earth response team. Their ships are using some kind of stealth technology we haven't seen before. Quilani sensors can penetrate their cloaking, Zelina offered, studying the tactical displays. But our weapon systems aren't designed for mobile warfare. We've always relied on defensive positions. Human ships are built for mobility, Marcus realized. If we combine your sensor technology with our tactical flexibility, a joint task force, Commander Rivers nodded. It could work. Ambassador. Drex, now under guard, but cooperating with the investigation, provided crucial intelligence about Catherian military capabilities. Its espionage activities, originally intended to undermine human expansion, had inadvertently gathered valuable data about the real threat. The hive ships carry quantum disruptors, he explained, his earlier hostility replaced by grim determination. They can destabilize entire planetary cores if given enough time. Marcus felt the familiar surge of human determination in the face of impossible odds. Then we don't give them time. The joint fleet that assembled over the next 12 hours was unlike anything the galaxy had seen. Human destroyers flew alongside Quilani battlecruisers, while smaller species contributed specialized support vessels. Marcus found himself aboard the Quilani flagship as a human liaison officer, working directly with Zelina to coordinate between the mixed crews. Your people are remarkable, Zelina observed, as they watched human engineers installing compatibility interfaces between alien systems. Most species would require months of planning for such integration. We're good at improvising. Under pressure, Marcus replied, it's one of our more useful survival traits. The combined fleet moved to intercept the Catherian advance at the edge of the Andorian system. Marcus stood on the bridge beside High Counselor Ysira, the elderly Quilani leader who had taken command after Drex's arrest. Captain Stone, she said formally, your species has shown remarkable courage in this crisis. The Quilani collective owes humanity a debt. We're in this together now, Marcus replied. All of our species. The battle that followed showcased the best of both civilizations. Human tactical innovation combined with Quilani Technological superiority proved devastating against the rigid hive mind strategies of the Catherians. When the enemy's quantum disruptor ships targeted the gas giant's core, threatening to destroy the entire system, it was Marcus who proposed the desperate plan that saved millions of lives. "We ram the disruptor ships before they can complete the core destabilization," he explained to the mixed command crew, "and ships are built to withstand impact damage. If we coordinate the strikes properly—" "You're talking about suicide missions?" Zelina protested. "There has to be another way." "Not with the time we have left," Marcus replied grimly. "Sometimes you have to risk everything to save what matters most." But Zelina had a different idea. Using Quilani shielding technology, combined with human engineering, they created a modified torpedo that could penetrate the disruptor field and disable quantum weapons without requiring kamikaze runs. The victory was decisive. The surviving Catherian ships fled to the outer rim, their expansionist plans shattered by the unexpected unity of their intended victims. In the aftermath, as rescue operations commenced and the dead were counted, Marcus found himself alone with Zelina on the observation deck where they had first planned their secret alliance. "The Quilani Council has voted to establish a formal alliance with humanity," she said quietly. "The first such agreement in our history with a species younger than a millennium." "And what about us?" Marcus asked. "Where does this leave our personal alliance?" Zelina's skin showed that familiar deeper blue, but her amber eyes held steady confidence. "The Council has also appointed me as the first Quilani ambassador to Earth. It seems they value my expertise in human cultural relations." Marcus pulled her into his arms, marveling at how natural it felt despite their differences in height and anatomy. "I think I'm going to like this new diplomatic arrangement." Their kiss was witnessed by the stars themselves, sealing not just their personal bond but symbolizing the new era of cooperation between their species. The Catherian attack had been meant to divide and destroy, but instead it had forged unbreakable connections across the galaxy. Later, as they watched human and Quilani ships working together to repair the damaged stations, Marcus reflected on how quickly everything had changed. A week ago, he had been a simple trade envoy hoping to secure mining rights. Now he was helping to shape the future of interstellar civilization. "What do you think comes next?" Zelina asked, leaning against his shoulder despite the awkward geometry of their different heights. "Whatever it is," Marcus replied, "we'll face it together, all of us." The twin suns set behind the gas giant's rings, painting the assembled fleet in shades of purple and gold. In the distance, ships from a dozen different species worked side by side, united by the bonds forged in crisis and strengthened by the courage to trust across the vast gulfs that separated them. Humanity had found its place among the stars, not through conquest or dominance, but through the same qualities that had always defined them: adaptability, determination, and the willingness to stand with others against the darkness. The galaxy would never be the same.